Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Star Trek Starships collection review. At long last, before me I have issue 118, the Freedom class, also known as the USS Firebrand. So as you can see, I have a funky looking model here, so I'll put this thing aside and we can see what's going on inside the magazine, shall we? All right, and here's the magazine, and as you can see, it's a rather interesting design of a ship and pretty cool image on the cover there. And it is considered Freedom class. It is a light frigate launched in the 24th century, approximately 430 meters long, and supposedly it can go as fast as warp 9.2, even though it only has one nacelle. But anyway, turn the page for the magazine, and the format is the same as all others. Stand assembly, etc. And a little bit more on the ship there. Once again, Freedom class operated by Starfleet. Of course, in the 24th century, we already covered the length and the crew, which is 370, and it can go as fast as warp 9, as previously mentioned. And it has phaser emitters and cannons, which is interesting, as well as photon torpedoes. And so yeah, you turn the page and you have another view of the ship, which is slightly different, or very different from this one, as well as a screen cap from the Best of Both Worlds, is which the only episode this ship actually appeared in. And I guess it wouldn't really count as having appeared because it was only that much. That's about as much as you see of this ship in the entire Star Trek franchise. So kind of interesting. And here's some text about that. And turn the page, and there's the plan view showing you where the various components are, what they do, etc., as well as trivia on the side margin there. And here's some magazine filler, a section on Ronald Moore's contributions to the 4th season of TNG, and more on that. And here's more magazine filler on the late Michael Piller and his contributions to The Next Generation. And more on him and his work. And more on him and his work. And finally, we reach the on-screen appearance page, which is the Best of Both Worlds Part 2 for all of a microsecond, really. And it was in the junkyard scene from after the battle of with the Borg. And that's pretty much the only glimpse of it you get. And so that pretty much rounds up the magazine. And on the next issue, which I will be sharing with you, of course, is 119, the Hirogen holoship that was in Star Trek Voyager. So, in the magazine there, and there is a kind of cool looking pizza slicing looking image of the ship there on the back. And that is the magazine. So now on to the model itself. All right, and there it is in the box. It's a rather interesting design of a ship, as I said earlier. This is another one of the infamous kit bash ships. That is parts of other Starship models, basically just, I guess you can say, half-ass put together to make new ships, I guess because of budgetary reasons and production issues or whatnot during the course of the show. Some of them look cool, and some of them look bad, and some of them just look plain bizarre, like this one. So let me get it out, and let's get it aside. All right, so here it is, and it's a pretty, not a bad model, I guess. There are some windows there, no misalignment, thank goodness. And I think that's mostly due to the fact that there are no grooves for the windows. So it comes out nice and crisp there. The registry, USS Firebrand NCC 68723, comes out pretty good. I don't see any errors there. You got your phaser arrays here, which have some red outlining on there, so that's kind of cool to see. Underneath, you simply just have the registry number and not the name of the ship, but you have your running light decals there, and phaser once again. And there's the infamous cannon or phaser turret that is seen on the front of the magazine. And the nacelle is pretty cool, nicely detailed. Got the clear plastic for the warp field grills or whatnot. Got the registry on the stern of the nacelle on both sides. And as you can see, this is a hybrid of, I guess, Galaxy class and Constitution class refit parts. The Galaxy class parts are basically the saucer section, or at least this is more of an Ambassador class saucer section, I think, along with a Galaxy class warp nacelle. And as you can see, it has the Starfleet pendant and stripe there, which is always nice and a joy to see. And there's your Constitution class refit neck and torpedo launcher there. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. And I guess this down here is supposed to be the deflector dish, but they clearly didn't paint that or put a groove in there or anything, which is a bit of a disappointment, really. Considering that it is very prominently featured on the magazine here as like a deflector dish of some sort. So in this case, it just simply looks like, I don't know, an extra piece. I have no idea. So it's kind of plain, so that's a bit of a disappointment. But maybe considering the size, it would have been maybe difficult to do that. I don't know. It's an odd looking ship. You know, the Star Trek fan in me wonders how this ship can go to warp 9.2 with only one warp nacelle. Yeah, if this nacelle goes kablooey, that's it, right? And you got your impulse engines there, which aren't painted, but at least they're there nevertheless. Overall, it's a neat model, minus the deflector issue and the impulse engines there. Some neat detail, but not a whole lot. Once again, this is one of the infamous kit bash ships. This now joins the ranks of the other Wolf 359 ships that have come out in this collection. The Cheyenne, the Niagara class, the New Orleans class, etc., the Buran, etc., etc., etc. And so yeah, it's a nice addition to the collection, and quite honestly, it shows that Eaglemoss is starting to run out of Starfleet ships to put out. I'm very glad this is out because I always love me some Starfleet ships. But yeah, it's a really weird looking model. It almost looks like a pizza slicer. I mean, if you really want to slice your pizza, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if the ship is right being this kind of configuration as opposed to this. That seems like it would be more reasonable. In fact, I kind of like it this way better. But it looks a lot like the J.J. Abrams USS Kelvin. So I guess that's kind of odd there, right? This is probably one of maybe 3 one-nacelled ships from Starfleet. Who knows? But yeah, that's an interesting ship, and I would definitely pick it up if I were you. Especially if you're just cherry-picking all the Starfleet ships. And of course, it comes with a stand that says Freedom Class and a no particular part number down there at the bottom. So yeah, that pretty much rounds up the Freedom Class USS Firebrand. Considering that this ship, or this model or whatnot, was only seen in a fraction of a second in the episode, which basically, if you were to use this general view of my camera as kind of like, let's pretend, and you were watching what was on the episode, the ship basically appeared on screen on the edge of the right-hand side for about, it looked about that big, and just by the time the camera pulls over and you see it like this, the frame is already onto the next scene. So yeah, considering that we didn't get a very good look at the ship, it's kind of nice, and this is one of the more obscure ships that will probably never ever be made again, and I can see why. So yeah, that is the USS Firebrand, also known as the Freedom Class. And of course, we have our magazine there. If you have any questions or comments about the ship or anything, please drop a comment or question down there and I'll be happy to get back to you. And if you could please hit that subscribe button, I would be very grateful and most appreciative. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing with you next time the Hirogen Holoship, which is issue 119. Until then, live long and prosper.